Hello, America, England, and nations. Each nation longs to be able to tell their history the best, history itself the best. And there are people who could do it better ways, different ways. One way I could do it is by only focusing, for example, with color treatments, observations of denials of that, of use of, in other words, the basic organized crime method. And I'll show you how I figured this out, how you could understand it, because the predicate is of English is valued simultaneously as the predicate of the law is value. See, but now we have their value treatments through and as value nature systems forced originally and still tactically ulterior from the value progression system that is the algorithm that each online platform also know as a database relationship to the ground and to justifications of the opinions of people regarding others. See, now they're all offensive, and this is with the original database tied organized crime method. That is one actually recorded, historically having been a sustained organized crime method that you can only tell by juxtaposing real or made up, especially if made up, witch trials with used color, with what divided Native Americans from themselves already, what already had the colonies fighting as identities to stay roles with criminally foreign influenced sciences, internation sciences as grouped nations, grouped beyond, in other words, to ties to the states and areas of all modern nations in an identity of negative value nature progression, as these markets positions only capable of affording to be self-valued roles, whereas how it counts, whereas and how this is a fact cheating nature organized crime, where our subject is what used color, and simultaneously with the witch trials. Now, when people try to make grounded properly fact treatments, see, we have people don't realize when you make treatments of what a predicate act is, which is tied to organized crime groups called criminal enterprises. And as states and areas of modern nations agreed to stay criminal enterprises, criminally foreign influenced roles with the glorification of the fact cheating nature, slavery, torture of, and stolen identities of our nation's founders. Motivations for this are recorded, how maintained. This method of child abuse of each age of each branch, all tied to them. Interages of every nature of campus. Campus Marcius was revealed, English was revealed by nature sciences working together. Now there are proofs that the ancients that revealed English used yin yang and alpha and omega. They revealed it, alpha and omega, as a subsection of yin yang, as a three semi-natures completed by another semi-nature and by the value of that to itself, which is value to its complete nature of volume. And to discern that, we have to be using sequence true and grounded, finite, active, and progressive truth at the same time, and using this exception nature it is. And this is with all subjects and verbs. I mean, all subjects and verbs, yeah, all communications. This is English is about not just how the scientists share and why they share an identity. This is how. And now, so this involves the identity of the ground because it's identity before that semi-nature, as that semi-nature of itself, as ours. These are as the value of us progressively to know. While we are living, we are gaining nature of volume. That is one identity in us, one identity already from us, connected to that, and that's sustained. Not one has trained, correct, since semi-ancient times, since before modern nations' religions. This is a method why we need states and areas not in collusion with religion, so individuals have the rights to defend themselves, whereas now we have interbranch criminal foreign influence roles with a whole bunch of nations there and here, the same thing. Fake sides, fact treatment nature, valuing it. Nature of there and here, worse than negotiated with terrorism against our nation's founders, who did not have free speech. Not one modern nation's founder could have free speech. These are people recorded, victim predator, raised to think things like pretend not to understand conviction. In other words, our experts were in collusion, and where we need experts to counter, things, they're being used to further it, because we have everyone, sickly, the ground before the ground of education's value, on off campuses, all natures of them, ties to our fact treatment nature's volume. So when you make a predicate act treatment, again, this is to counter. This is an organized crime method from semi-ancient times that modern religions are about. And it was forcing and investing everyone, blaming the real causes of negative value nature, progressions, acts, and natures, evil convictions, as the quality of fact treatment nature of everyone, as criminal insidiousness nature, because the nature itself will continue to demonstrate criminally foreign influenced scientific reception of what the identity of science really is. And see, we have fact treatment nature, semantics and rhetoric, pretending these are criminal rules indifferent to the criminality with of the directors of our agencies, recorded in collusion. Criminal, but criminally legalized. What's not legalized are the crime methods and roles following it, but it's here or there invested. Everyone, before they understand it, they're already interbranch lie progressions, standing lie progression cover up natures. Treatments of time, you can't defend that, and forever nature's course. Using what is before, while being, and beyond the value of the force, using what is true always as exceptions too, which is right here where every physical value is value with our verbs and nouns, with the nature of volume that English is revealed to teach about that all spaces, and it's a gaining nature of volume. Gaining positive or negative and not in relationship to this exception nature, the simultaneous nature, the forever nature, the everything nature. Don't have to agree about the name. We have to, that's value not to agree about the name. Because then we stay on what is true always as exceptions too. See, but we have that quality of fact treatment nature, victim, predator, child abuse, interbranch, the perfect world, not to believe in it, acting right through all, of course, maintain needed self-value, but furthering all the evil, blaming out other things, others, and themselves. So now that forced only capable of the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. So we're talking about predicate acts here also. Now, when you define a predicate act, you have to tie it to a group. So they have these people offensively saying that they're in criminal enterprises, real or made up, especially when made up, because the people undercover are recorded in collusion with these overt criminal enterprises with perjury rackets. Manifest as value because of the nature of child abuse of each branch of government, distinctly, non-distinctly. This is what uses how they're criminally foreign influence already. How they're going to need to hide that, not realizing originally still. From they're going to have to value and keep her each perception of correlation nature, each identity of perception to correlation nature, which has value by that each individual. Because that is what is in discerning. What is that value to all ways as exception? That which the discernment of and care for reveals evolution's fruits and gifts and means. One way redeems. Call 3 teams awake as legion, native, pure though. It's the way. Campus Marcius calls you home this day. Many pray. Many prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. Who tried. The law will have its course through all its force. 2 sides. CT tells lies. All rise. We're going to need federal stewardships of each nation. Let's just do it. Species, nature, or volume admit, since ancient times, what spoke is all knaves. Do not stay slaves, suits and ties. Only can say other by comparison. You think those are means. One way redeems. It shows. Since before cars, this pathology of homes was involved with the torture of our founders, with the slavery, the fact-keeping nature slavery of our founders' soul. The species longs our course to heal all places. Oh, psychology is long. Many nations, like Russia and America, fact-keeping nature rackets, valuing, needing tensions between our countries because of the way they're involved with Justice Department here, over there, their equivalent, other whole bunch of nations at once. Crimes with the ground are gathered around. What makes this true? What forces this through? We have people that are only brave with the backing of recorded interbranch, who knows who. I asked you a lot of times for response here. And I didn't speak like this on the phone. We have the campuses with the phone conversation. We have all this long. They invested, the police chief retired and standing with my town. I'll gather around. Various natures of courts originally instilled. One-way reports, religion fill. So what this method did was it was getting to keep everyone entertaining what's grouped, manifest ill, identity of negative value nature progressions with all these overt criminal enterprises, gangs. What really furthers them is and then it has the line progressions needed by the branches. And it's juxtaposed in ways where they very all appreciate a whole bunch of fact-keeping nature anomaly associated with all kinds of misprision and criminality. Not even a lawyer, not police form, not criminally. all kinds of physical delusions with that, juxtaposed with the stewards of medical campuses, with them forging names, switching names, with this, with their treatments and reactions to problems that unfold with each age of factory nature, tied to their crime method with databases, with little kids, with pretending you need to be sensitive and then doing the opposite at the same time. I just remind, drop my name now from your minds. Interbranch, they lie to their kids, pretend they have a conversation with us. They're forging names, switching names. These are identity to the ground to their actual integrity nature. They have no integrity already. They can't defend themselves and afford truth with you as this way. And many pray. All means reveal. See, this is instantaneous. What the species nature or volume agrees to and as science. See, we have mandated law, not let followed. They pretend they don't understand. Fix the fake conversations you have with me, fake news crime acts, natures of crimes. This just reminds, including roles with database crimes of people with identity thefts. No, pretending people raise their voice to women into databases criminally, forging names, switching names, as people further interbranch drug crime roles, formal and informal with the kids, intercities through time, worse than interstates, maintain this outcome. Houses all around the high school, further on off the middle school, further uses of the identities of the ground, for example, with middle school, with summer school. They have identities incapable of defending themselves and their treatments of the law, whereas now that is simultaneously of value to each single person. Not as they describe it. They are recorded offensive, sustained breaching method roles, natures, using time, all ways to keep everyone conformed, preventing mandated law, child abusing, elderly abusing simultaneously, each age of factory nature. And you know what? Not only does that has to be counted all simultaneously, but how that one is also exploited even further with that, and that consciously, originally, still methodically maintaining it all formal, informal, private, everything, overt criminal enterprise juxtaposed to roles, needing to hide the same finite, active, progressive lives. Sequence true. We're going to have to see what's way worse than cruel and unjust punishment with that. Where and how people stacked against. And people are going to make money off that. And then they're going to have, in other words, they should even have free, a good quality marijuana. And in this game, who train. In other words, simultaneous means the whole nation will help. The whole species will help if we admit this. If we just keep leveraging positions, not just to counter something like war, to counter what paradise is a scientific value. We don't have science free, we don't have speech. We have religion. We have religion offensively involved with offensive evidence rackets, interbranch, intercampuses. A whole bunch of nations maintained as natures needing to hide their roles with us. They're facilitated to it like that. Go get my bat. There's a Kerr family. There are people next to parks. A whole bunch of people with CCSU and with Trinity College recorded and confessed and demonstrated crimes with a whole bunch of people on off the state judicial branch office, on off the state prison offices, overt criminal enterprises, of various nations associated with these police forms, with evidential crime acts with them, with New Britain Superior Court through time, with other nations of court, their family members. There was the Morrow family. There's another one I forgot the name of, but they use the locations of their family members' business, things like that, in association with a whole bunch of foreign and domestic military. Identities of ground, fact, cheap, nature, value. You see the VA stacked like that? You see the roles with the psychology, with the guys with the badges, with the camo. Fake. CT must break to rise, America. We're in an identity of negative value nature progression. We are machines for what? To stay. Give many prey. The value nature system was not liberated. We don't blame positions forced to entertain what was formerly only realized. Way worse. How? Fake branches bow now, fall fast. It is instantaneous. Who denies this in each land needs to help out at once. Then we'll deal with names. Who disbelieves? Who disbelieves that paradise is a scientific value? Who disbelieves that to make proper treatments and counters to predicate acts, to prevent them from happening in the first place, you don't lock everyone up through the same systems that are recorded? How? Maintained, facilitated, motivated. To blame the real causes of the shooting, things like that, and to self-value one, blame dumb other. And then we'll use their line progressions from there, not by accident. The same ones running the prisons. These are identities of law. They're pretending, they're recorded, pretending things like being about corrections, correcting things so there's no recidivism. They're recorded and involved with identity thefts, forging names, switching names, offensive evidence crime acts with their prisoners before they go in prison. With all undercover use for fact, cheap nature, rackets, organized crime that our American history is about each second real.